Good evening, everyone. Hope everybody is enjoying their delicious buffet, our little sunset dinner here, our welcome night dinner. And I hope everybody enjoyed their first full day of the Scholars Retreat. Did everybody have a good time in the Discovery Center? Yeah, you guys all made good decisions? Decisions you're proud of? No? Somebody said no? That's okay. It was just pretend. Just in real life, you'll get it right. Well, we've certainly enjoyed getting to know you, and not to mention showing off the amazing place where we have the honor and privilege of working every day. And one of the things I love about this event every year is that just the chance to eat a meal out here at sunset. I mean, it's not a bad view, right? Is this okay? Most of you, anybody okay with the view? On a scale of 1 to 5, how many fingers would you hold up? 5? 5? Okay. So, we got a 6 here. A couple. There we go. There we go. Excellent. That's right. To be a leader, you don't have to follow the rules. You create your own, so I appreciate that. All right, so I'm going to continue with my litany of jokes that I will share with you tonight, and then this will tie in. So one of the jokes that President Reagan liked to tell was about a man who liked betting on horse races. And so he went to bed one night, and he dreamed of the number 5. And he went to bed and the next night and dreamed of the number 5, and the third night he went to bed and just dreamed of the number 5. It's not a very exciting dream, but he thought it meant something. So he went to the horse track, and sure enough, on the 5th race, he looked down at the 5th horse, and it was named 5x5. So he took all the money he had in his pocket and said, I'm going to bet on this horse. And sure enough, it came in 5th. So the connection I make there is there's a difference between dreaming and doing. It doesn't take a whole lot to kind of dream up innovative ways to change the world, or to dream about all the ways you might help your community. But dreaming's just dreaming unless you actually raise your hand and you roll up your sleeves and you get to work. And one of the things that really impresses us about all of you is you are doers, not only dreamers. You know, you've envisioned a new way for your school or the clubs you're involved in or the different organizations, and you have done a lot of work to get you to this point. So thank you for not wasting all of your money on the horses. We see many similarities between President Reagan and you, and namely your leadership, your drive, your integrity, your citizenship. You stood out from among nearly 14,000 students to bear the distinction of the GE-Reagan Foundation Scholars. And you were also joining a network of roughly 135 GE-Reagan Foundation Scholars. So on behalf of the leadership of the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute, the advisory and the selection committee, and our partner GE, we commend you on this very elite distinction. We see this not just as a scholarship, but we see this as an investment. We see this as an investment in you. We see this as an investment in the future of our country. And we know that this is an investment that's going to pay off very well. So we are thrilled to honor your achievements during the retreat. That said, we have the possibility that one of our scholars is not able to join us tomorrow night. So we are going to honor one scholar tonight. And so I'm going to turn it over to Joanne.
Good evening. I hope you all had a wonderful afternoon. We did not want to not honor one of you. And so just in case, we want to talk a little bit about Otis Purina tonight. Like Ronald Reagan, Otis is lauded for his public speaking skills. Through mock trial, model United Nations, speech and debate, and as the president of the local TEDx Youth, he has refined those skills and spent countless hours making convincing arguments. Further, through his leadership of a number of volunteer efforts, including charitable and political causes, he used his speaking strengths to motivate and inspire those around him. He has been described as, quote, the moral compass, and he strives to uphold right from wrong and a sense of justice. With a future in law, Otis hopes to defend the constitutional rights of hardworking, less fortunate individuals. Otis is local to us here at the library, so we've been lucky enough to watch him grow in his leadership abilities through some of our own programs. From Newberry Park, just up the road or down the road, he plans to attend the University of California at Berkeley in the fall. We want to welcome Otis Purina into this select group of GE-Reagan scholars. Otis, will you join me up here?
You've already made a name for yourselves in high school, and now you're about to transition to your next great journey, college. We know this is an exciting time, and we want to join your family in setting you up for success on campus. So we are pleased to have with us tonight a few people who know a thing or two about making the most of your college experience. First, I'm going to welcome to the stage a new member to the GE-Reagan Foundation Scholarship Program Advisory and Selection Committee. He's been with us for a couple of years now, but he spends his days nurturing talent at the college level for GE. From Indianapolis, Indiana, please welcome University Relations Leader, Global University Relations, GE Corporate, Mr. Tony Dennard.
Thank you, Tony. As the guests are going to join me up here, how could I be outdone by another Tony? So I'm not going to tell a joke, but I'm going to tell you a quote. And trust me, I just pulled this one out of the hat. But there was a quote by President Reagan that there are advantages to being elected president. And that is, and I wish I had this myself, kind of for my college grades, but the day after he was elected, he had his high school grades classified as top secret. So... I think we're all set here.
One, two, two.
We were talking as we were, actually before we were eating, and someone said we should get the ice cream before it melts. And we blew that. So, we're excited to be here. I'm going to probably tell you a little bit about myself later. But, first off, I just want to say congratulations to all the scholars. And job well done to all the parents, friends, and family that are with you. An amazing achievement. As Tony indicated, I've been involved with the program for about 2 years, and I'm here to tell you that every time I engage with one of the scholars or we go through the selection process, I am so humbled. And as Tony said, what a great place to be having dinner. So amazing, and I would also just like to thank everyone at the foundation, the Institute, Aaron, Whitney, I don't know who all, touched this, but again, another fabulous job. So as we get started here, could each one of you just maybe tell the audience a little bit about yourself, where you went to high school, maybe a fun fact?
Yeah, so I can start. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay. So it's so great to be here with you guys tonight. So my name is Ray Peterson. I am originally from Michigan. I know there's a family here from Michigan, so shout out to you guys, yes. I'm a sophomore at the University of Pennsylvania, the Wharton School of Business. I'm studying international business management, public policy, and legal studies, which is a triple threat. I am a 2016 GE-Reagan Scholar, and I am currently an intern for the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute. I'm here all summer if you guys want to stick around.
Yeah, you can hear me. My name is Braden Drevlow, and this is my brother Brock, and I am from Minnesota. So if you can kind of envision Minnesota, the little nib that sticks up into Canada, I'm like right underneath that. And so way up, it's like -50 in the winter, it's great. I guess I go to college now in kind of central Minnesota at a school called Concordia College, where I do lots of intensive studies in piano performance. So you get to hear me play some piano later on tonight. And I guess as for myself before college, I guess the best way to kind of just a great fact, I guess, to throw in there would be that walking into college, growing up, my family, I'm the third of 11 kids, believe it or not, and our family, they always loved to, instead of just going on a carnival cruise or something, we all packed up in a 15-passenger van and we drove to some quadrant of the nation, and we hit up tons of national parks and all that kind of stuff. And so I was a junior ranger at over 250 national parks, and so I've seen almost every corner of this country. It's great. And Minnesota's still always the best. I don't know. But yeah, it's lots of fun. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, now I study piano performance.
And my name is Brock Drevlow, brothers, like Brian said, and I'm from the Fur Falls, Minnesota, originally. I'm a 2016 scholar, so I was with Ray. I was in her year. And I currently live in Baltimore, Maryland, and that's where I attend school at the Johns Hopkins University, the Peabody Conservatory of Music. And so, hence while you're here, you'll hear us, Brian and I, play. This summer, Brian and I are putting on a tour Actually, we started our tour already, and we are called the L'Ambizioso Duo. And so we're playing around 40 or 50 venues this summer. And yeah, so this is what we do, and we're excited for you guys to listen to the sounds of L'Ambizioso. So
Tony, how about you tell us about yourself?
Okay, I will. So one of the things that are most important to me are family and friends. So I'm going to start with the family. And if you will meet part of our family tomorrow evening, my wife, Rhonda, will be joining me along with our daughter, Nicole, and my niece, Caitlin. But we also have a son, Jake, who just actually graduated last month. He started his full-time job this morning, so that's one off the payroll. So parents, that's what you have something to look forward to there. I'm a graduate of Purdue University. My wife's a graduate of Purdue University. Our son is a graduate of Purdue University. Any ideas where our daughter's at? So we're all boilers. I've been with GE for 28 years. I work for corporate. I am the university relations leader. And what that means is we hire about 10,000 college students annually. And my focus is a portfolio of schools pretty much from Indiana to California. And what I focus on is making sure that our teams, from a recruiting standpoint, are getting the best and brightest into the company, working on the relationships across the board with students first and foremost, the faculty and administration. And then I tag on another R, research, but it's really the different types of collaborations that we have between the company and those institutions. I spent my first 22 years in our energy business and field services, so I had about 5 or 6 different roles there, starting in the field, into management roles, operation roles, loved it. And then I made a switch 6 years ago to the best job in the company as the university relations leader. So I transitioned from an operations role to HR, and that's one of the things I've loved about the company is just the opportunities that, I'll touch on a few a little bit later, but the opportunities that the company has provided to me, like this program. So with that, let's give you some of those hints. And, one of the things I'd also say is with the 4 of us up here, the other 135, Tony? So the other 132 that are out there, they're here to help you. And I know with these 3 and the dozens of others that I've met and engaged with, they're there to help. So with that, let me turn the page here. So Ray, you've experienced college, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that just blows my mind away is when I look through all these applications, all of the work, whether it's service, academics, companies you start, I just don't know when you sleep, period. So, I think it's probably easier for all of the scholars to transition into college, but I know that's not the right answer. Could you tell us a little bit about how you manage time while you've been at college?
Yeah, for sure. So when you go to college, it is going to be very, very busy all the time. You're going to wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you're going to be busy until 12 or 2 in the morning. It really depends, but every day is different, with your class schedule. So who here is really excited to start college? You guys ready? You guys transitioning from high school to college? Yeah, so my tip for you guys is what I did is do something fun. Do something that you're passionate about that is not academic, because that is what's really going to wear you out. So what I did is I interned for a U.S. senator in downtown Philadelphia, where my school is at, and I would go every week for a couple days a week. I worked 20 to 25 hours a week, which is absolutely ridiculous because I wasn't paid. But that's okay. I loved my job because every day it was different. I had to keep up with the news. I was constantly meeting new people. I made a lot of great connections, and it was a way for me to just get off campus, to forget about, the essays that I have due next week or something like that. It was just a way, to get with different people, surround yourself with a different environment. And so that's my advice. Do something that you're passionate about. Do something that, whether it's a club, a job, a sport, just do something to get off campus because you will be so much happier. And with that, you'll just manage your time a lot better.
Yeah, and throwing on top of that, I'd say 2 things. 1, plan when you're going to sleep, and 2, plan when you're going to eat. I know it sounds like super simple and all that, but when you get college, it really changes that up. So like my first semester in college, freshman year, I just finished my sophomore year. My first semester, I'd say solidly for 4 months, I got like less than 3 hours of sleep a night, just because knowing all of you guys, we're all very yes people, I'd like to say. And, we just keep adding on all this other kind of stuff. So plan when you're going to sleep. And also then planning when you're going to eat. There was many days that even if I didn't have anything going on all day, I'd wake up, 8 a.m. or something, eat breakfast, and then just go to the practice room. And I'd be practicing for a straight 15 hours a day, and then realize at the end of the day, I forgot to eat. And so always people are going to keep chewing away at your time, whether it's a professor or it's some group lecture or something like that, so just, I know it sounds really simple, but plan that kind of stuff.
One other thing I want to say, only because it was brought up by Ray, is that I think going to college is the time to sort of, and it sounds kind of silly, but to find yourself. I mean, this is the first time in your lives probably where you're not surrounded or you're pushed by a parent or other peers or people that you're very familiar and you feel safe with, or close to. So look at extracurricular activities. What do you really like to pursue, whether it's it could be like religious, it could be political. This is the time to kind of build your moral and to kind of find yourself, I felt. So. Yep.
Also at my school, the ice cream bar is open 24/7. Try to avoid going there at 2 o'clock in the morning every single day. Just word of advice.
I do. I have a question for Tony. And that is, you work for a large global company. Can you share what it's like to work for GE and why it is important to have a global mindset?
Sure. And great points that you brought up about that you just brought up, I'd say. But the one that really resonates with me before I answer the question is love what you do. I said earlier that I have the best job in the company. I asked my wife how much I love doing what I do. And, getting up at 3 a.m. on Saturday to fly here was no big deal for me. So love what you do. And they all gave great points that will help you be successful. So, yeah, GE is a big company. 300,000 employees. We're in over 175 countries. But at the end of the day, it gets really small really fast. And I'd say the top reason I love the company so much is the people. And you'll hear it when you get to know me. You'll hear me talk about the people and how important the people are. And it's not only my coworkers, my peers. It's great people out here that I get to meet. It's just amazing the stories that my new friend that I met last year. She knows who I'm talking about. She's smiling, but it's the people, and you never know what's around the corner, right? You talk about that unpaid internship, but how many doors that probably is going to open down the road it's just mind-blowing. Working for a big company has a lot of advantages. Yeah, trust me, there are some disadvantages there, but some of the things that the company has been able to do, we're printing jet engine parts. We created, and I'll talk about change a little bit later probably, that we stood up a GE Digital, which is a multi-billion-dollar piece of the company that's going to change the company forever. So working for a large company, it has huge advantages, and it's afforded me things like being able to be part of this program, right? If it wasn't for GE, I wouldn't be up on the stage today. From a global mindset standpoint, you heard me say that we're in 175 countries. The world's, and we're going to talk about change a little bit later, but the world's changing, and understanding the different cultures, right? The different mindsets, the economic policies. To be a successful leader, you have to have that in your DNA. I'll give you one example of our GE healthcare business. What we used to do, we would pick up someone and we just would throw them over in China as an example, as an expat for 2-3 years, and they do okay. But how we've transformed as a company is, we find local people and we have those local people in country for country. And I think it was an MR machine, one of the medical devices that you go in and to get a scan. And what we had done in the past was we would just take what we built in the U.S. and we'd put it in China. Well, it was too expensive, and it's not what they wanted. And one of the other things, a piece of advice I'll give you that relates to that is listening, right? Listening more than talking. And by having, employees embedded in country, we were able to build deep relationships. Then we listened, and we really understood what our customers wanted. So I think we could go on for hours about global mindset. why it's so important, what you should be doing. But those are just a few items to think about as you begin your journey in college and how important it is to engage in college, right? My team is global. Even 5 years ago, before I came into this role, I was lucky if I was engaging outside of the U.S. once a month, if I was lucky. Now it's every week. And sometimes you got to put yourself in that position just to reach out to your peer in Paris or Russia or Mexico City, just to listen, right? And just talk. I was over in Paris in February, and I spent time getting to know all my peers and just understanding what's working, what's not, what do you think? So very important for your success as a leader down the road. I talked about people a little bit, right? So I'm going to go to Braden here with a question on, outside of the classroom, what's one of the most important things you've learned outside of the classroom while in college?
Outside of the classroom, I think.
Or how important is networking outside of the classroom?
Networking is another great point. Especially outside of the classroom. Brock touched on it just a little bit, but with extracurricular activities for sure. But with networking, I'm going to say two things about it. So first, at your school, and second, within the Reagan group. So at school, I think networking and finding the right extracurricular group was one of the best things to start off with. Because not only do you find some of your best friends, but you also find people that are really on the same mindset, whether that be through degree or whether that be just like the Reagan characteristics, and so making lots of friends that way and using them to help network down the road is really helpful. But also with especially the Reagan group, I know at least like in my year, 2015, that I know of for sure, there's already 2 scholars that have already teamed up and made an LLC, and they work together already. And so there's lots of people, like Tony said, there's 135 of us, and lots of people in all kinds of fields. We were talking around the table the other day, there's some people biochemistry, or there's some people music performance, for example. And so there's a wide sampling to become friends with, to help connect with, and help move your career along.
I definitely have to hop on that. I think networking is the best thing, or the thing I focus on the most outside of the classroom. It's funny because we all come here and we think this is a time for award and recognition, and sure it is. It's really great to be here, but I think the main focus of everybody coming together is to learn from each other and to meet each other and to network. I think so many people disregard that in college, and college is the time where you get to definitely make your friends, choose your friends, and take advantage of your friends. You're in college to learn and to better yourself, and I think that's a really great thing, networking.
Yeah, so I'll hop in here. So you guys are going to college to learn something, hopefully, because you guys are paying a lot of money to do it. But you guys are going to realize that what you learn in the classroom is not what you're going to take with you when you graduate. It is the people that you meet, and it is the experiences that you have. So for example, growing up, I traveled a lot with my parents. I spent a year traveling the country, so I've been to over 40 US states. I've been to 6 continents. I've been to almost 24 countries, and that really opened my world perspective. I learned that the world is your greatest classroom, and it is your greatest teacher. And so I went to college, and there were so many more travel opportunities open to me, and I'm sure you guys will find this when you guys go to college. So for example, I spent my winter break hiking in Patagonia in Chile, which was, just a very random thing to do. I spent my spring break going to a warranty software corporate retreat in Arizona, of all the things I could spend my time doing. And then after my last final in May, I hopped on a plane to Africa for a month, and I consulted for a nonprofit. So you guys are going to have all of these opportunities open to you to travel. I want you to say yes to them, because you will learn so much more about yourself, about the world around you. You will become so much more mature, and you will meet so many great people around you. And that'll help you get a job after you graduate. My turn to ask you a question, Tony. You ready?
I'm ready.
So I see GE in the news a lot. Just recently, you guys got a new CEO, and every time I go on Facebook, I see GE ads. So I'm sure in the 30 years that you've been there, you've seen a lot of change at GE. Do you have any advice for the scholars about change?
Oh, do I have advice? So when you everyone in the audience, when you think of GE, what do you think of? Anyone? Light bulbs. What else? Appliances. All right.
Dishwashers.
Yep. You're all absolutely correct. So over the last handful of years, we've sold GE appliances. If you were watching the news 3 weeks ago, we formally said that GE Lighting, the non-LED portion, is up for sale. We did own NBC. We sold NBC. And I could keep going through this, but I'm not going to. But what I'm going to tell you, I think everyone knows who Jeff Emmelt is. Near and dear to my heart, love the guy. But he has been our CEO for 16 years. When he started, 70% of our revenue was in the U.S. Today, 70% of the revenue is outside of the U.S. During his 16 years, he acquired we had 380 acquisitions, and we sold off 370 assets. That's 500 billion with a B in 16 years. So I've seen a lot. And, the advice I would give you as you walk away here is embrace change. Get comfortable with change, because the world you're going into is uncertain, and there's going to be change. With our, we were talking earlier. I don't know if it was Brock or Braden. One of the two said, "So, are you Brock?" Braden. All right, both of them. They both hit me up, and they're like, "So with the change, with John Flannery coming in as the new CEO on August 1st, what's that mean to you, Tony?" And I'm like, "Well, you've been watching the news too, right? And there's been talk of the company breaking up. I don't think it'll happen, but if it does, I'm with corporate, and that means I'd probably need to find a new job, and I'm okay with that. And that's all part of the change." So, who's heard of Uber and Airbnb? You talk about disrupting the world, right? You look at this thing right here, right? The amount of power in your hand is so disruptive, it just blows my mind away, right? So you've got to love the world that you're going into. You have to probably know that the world is going to change every step of the way. The rate of change within GE is just up. I mean, things are happening so much faster today than they were yesterday. The other thing, how many of you have programmed before or coded? Okay. So 18 months ago, 12 months ago, our chairman said that everyone in the company will know how to code. I highly encourage each and every one of you, parents too, to, especially college students, to learn how to code, know about big data and analytics. It is the future, and you're going to have to know how to do it. There are jobs today that don't exist, that are going to be here tomorrow, that you're going to have to learn, right? So, my advice around change is always learning, right? Always read a book. Always do something there. The digital DNA, the disruption. But again, I'll leave you with get comfortable and embrace change. It's going to happen. So with that, how are we looking on time? We've got maybe time for one more question, and we'll finish up. Sound good, Tony? I think it does. So, the three of you, 3 weeks ago, a few of the folks out in the audience heard you start talking about, the experience going out to New York. We were talking at our table about some of the side adventures maybe that you took. But we just got back from the Global Leadership Forum that we held at GE Crotonville. Just a few impressions from walking away from that.
Yes. The Global Leadership Forum was absolutely amazing. And this was the first time that foundation, GE-Reagan, able to put or get all the scholars, or at least the ones who could show up, together and to work off each other and build off each other. The whole idea of where we were for GE, this is their leadership institute. So they call it a corporate university, I believe. And they invite the best and brightest of the company to the campus, which is a little north of New York City, in Croton-on-the-Hudson or Crotonville. And pretty much they get them all together, and they network, they work off each other, they build leadership, they instill leadership, and it is so inspiring to be on that campus and to walk away with a lot of those traits. A lot of those scholars I had never met before, their previous classes, previous years, and so it was really great to get to meet and bond with a lot of those new people, and to build new ideas on entrepreneurial ideas and leadership skills, and just amazing experience. And I know these both, Ray and Braden, were there as well, so I'm sure they have a lot to share too.
Yeah. I think really specifically, one of the things that I really liked, I don't know if Tony mentioned or not, we were some of the last people to see Jeff Immelt as CEO. And so we were able to sit down with him for about an hour or so and just kind of pick his brain as to what, how he got to where he's at. This is a guy that's flying in on his helicopter, to come and speak to, a whole bunch of us. And so to pick his brain and kind of get his idea on change and all that. And what really struck me was the fact that you have Jeff Immelt, the guy at the top of, I think GE has 300,000 employees. And the thing that struck me the most was how normal he was, how easy it was to just talk with him. And I think that was one of my biggest takeaways. And one of my best pieces of advice that I ever got was no matter where you're at, to be humble, because it really pays off, really.
Yeah, of course, and building off of that, the CEO, he walked in a sweater vest and jeans with his diet root beer. He was just so casual. And you meet so many great people there. You get a network with your scholars, and it's really comfortable because you're around all these powerful executives, and yet they have such great advice to share with you. And another thing about Crotonville is that they have these things called kitchenettes. That was what I spent my time doing. And basically, it's a kitchen stocked with food, and you can take as much as you want. Free ice cream, they have the best Haagen-Dazs. So if you want free food, that is definitely the place to go. And of course, you get to see Tony. So it's always an upside.
I wondered if you're going to bring up the kitchenette piece, because I think it was last year. When we all got together, I said, "Hey, who's been in the kitchenette?" And you start seeing a few hands go up like this, and then I'm like, "Okay." And you forgot you get smoothies. There's a Starbucks there. And I'm like, it's there for you, right? So I gave him a little guidance, use it. And then if you're going to the airport, grab some before you go. And I was talking to Ray. I was like, so did you stock up before you left? And we've got these little baggies to do a little to go there. So
half my suitcase was food. It's okay.
Yeah, and she said she's still working on eating it all.
I still have some with me.
Yeah, I have to say, Tony makes a great point. One of my favorite things about Crotonville is that you go in and it's like a gated community, and they take away all those kinds of stressful kinds of things, if you want to think of it that way. So everything is free as a result. So whether it's an entire a wall of freezers full of Haagen-Dazs ice cream or their signature frozen grapes, it's great. Yeah, and so, Tony kept. I can't say it was us, but Tony encouraged us to take us a ton of food, and so even I think I had my backpack stuffed full of Crotonville. I think it lasted me 2 weeks. But I got stopped at JFK Airport, and the guy was checking it out, and I go, "It's my mom. My mom wanted snacks."
But in all seriousness, if you guys get the opportunity to go to Crotonville, you have to take it up. Brandon and I were driving back to JFK. We were in the Uber for about an hour, and I was annoying Braden with all of the new thoughts and ideas I had coming out of that, out of Crotonville, and so there's something in that campus just ignites you and makes you.
I think half of it is being at the campus with all the amazing things that they push, and then being surrounded by fellow Reagan scholars. Because as I'm sure you're starting to see, being around the other 19 scholars of your year, I guarantee you're going to walk away next week. You're going to definitely notice a change.
Yep.
And you only get this opportunity as a GE-Reagan scholar. They don't just bring in any other students. You get it because, you are where you are today,
Yep.
which is something that I think, is incredible.
GE-Reagan is so great for you. People think they walk away from here and this is just the end. No, this is just the beginning. Everything, it just starts from here. You have all these great things that GE-Reagan provides for you, and set aside from that, all the people, too, you get to meet and work with. It's fantastic.
Great, thank you. As we wrap up here, could each one of you provide, one or two words of wisdom to the scholars as they enter college?
I think Jeff Immelt said it best. Say hungry and humble. And I think that's staying true to yourself being humble and presenting yourself in a professional manner, being hungry. Keep that drive to be the best of whatever you want to be. This is just the beginning. It's fantastic.
Yeah. To be humble, I think, is the one thing that I kind of see across the board. So definitely with Jeff. Also, last year when I was, insert plug, doing the LTAP program, which I strongly recommend all of you do. Last year when I was doing that, I took time outside of class and outside of internship and all that, which obviously adds up time. It's like 80 hours a week. But take some of the free time into that and really take advantage of being thrown into DC. And so I met up with the Royal Ambassador of Norway and gave him a private piano recital at the embassy. And afterwards I was talking with him, and I was just kind of surprised that someone like a Royal Ambassador would want to meet with some freshman piano performance major kid, right? And the one thing he kept telling me was, no matter what you do in life, stay humble. And so that's my word of wisdom.
So in my entire freshman year, I learned 4 things. The first is that there's always free food. On campus, every day of the week, somewhere there's free food. If you can't tell, I love free food. And it is usually much better than cafeteria food. So always keep an eye out for that. The second, kind of like what you touched on, is stay hungry. There are so many opportunities open to you, and it is so easy to get in the same day-to-day routine that you don't reach out. So every week, go explore somewhere. Go to a new restaurant. Just do something fun. Do something that you're passionate about doing. The third is focus on yourself. So you're going to college, to find who you are and what you're really passionate about doing, but it's really easy with all of the influences that you guys have to kind of lose yourself. And so my advice is just, do things for you. Focus on your own happiness. For example, my school is really, really competitive. And it's really intimidating when everyone's talking about, their summer internship at JP Morgan or how they want to work on Wall Street. But if you don't want to work on Wall Street, don't work on Wall Street. Just focus on your own happiness and your own health. That's something that's incredibly important. And the fourth, that I think is the most important, is call your parents, please. My mom was always the parent who's like, I want you to call me first. But I was always too busy, and so I never really did. And that's the one thing that I really regret about my freshman year. It will keep you so much more grounded, and more so, your parents worry about you. They want to make sure that you're safe. So just, keep in touch with them.
So Ray, Braden, Brock, I just want to thank you. I wish I had this advice. I guess it would have been 32 years ago. That's dating me. But if I would have had this advice, I would have been set up for success as a leader. So once again, I just want to thank you, the 3 of you, for taking time out up here to have a discussion.
Thank you too, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.